Aloha, everyone. Welcome to Hawaii Abroad Audio Podcast. I'm your host, Auntie Max, and today is Aloha Friday. This is a day that we can hear from former Hawaii residents about their journey relocating elsewhere. And today's interview is with a native Hawaiian, wahine, a mana wahine, and she's very passionate in supporting the lahui, those that have relocated, especially those that relocated in the community that she is in. I'm excited to bring her story to all of you, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and just get right into it. So, without further ado, let's get started. Ui, aloha, Cece. Thank you for joining me.
Aloha no, Anake, Kawahine. Mahalo for having me.
Yes, mahalo for being here. Okay, so why don't we get right into it? Can you share where you originally from, where you recently moved, where you are now, and tell us a little bit about your journey on relocating and now becoming a resident of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Ai, mahalo. O Cece Cullen, ko'ui noa no Kahaluʻu Oahu mai iau, a ka noho wau ma Las Vegas i ke manawa no ko'u ohana. So I am originally from Kahaluʻu Oahu. I live here in Las Vegas now. This is actually my round 2. So I lived here back when I went to Kulanui at UNLV, worked for Hawaiian Airlines, moved up here with my kane, who is also from Kahalu'u, Nakua is my kane. We had a keiki kane, Kamaehu, back in 2008, and decided to relocate back to Oahu after having our first child. We had another baby back in Hawaii, stayed there for about 7 years, and just relocated back here in Las Vegas in 2017, 2018, right before the pandemic. And then we had 2 more keiki. So altogether, I have 3 keiki total that were born in Las Vegas and only 1 Hawaii born. So that's our journey a little bit of relocating and coming back and forth from Las Vegas. And for us per se, Nakua and I, initially our first round here at Las Vegas, we went to Kula, right? We were young parents, didn't really know what we were doing. So obviously we went back home to get support from Ohana, but there was always some sort of feeling of unfinished business, quote unquote, when we moved back to Hawaii. Obviously, it's home. Nothing can replace Hawaii. Everything from culture to ohana to the lifestyle to aloha, that is never replaceable on our onehanel, right? On our homeland, on our kulaiwi. And so, with that being said, obviously the financial strains of single family ohana, multi-family ohana, back on Oahu particularly, it took a strain on our individual ohana. And a lot of people will say, did you feel the need? Did you feel the push out of Oahu? And for us, it was a little easier because we had already lived here or lived off of Oahu. So we knew the expectations, we knew what we could expect of ourselves, of what was required of us. And ultimately, yes, the finances was clearly, I would say, a motivation to really expedite a move. But for us, it was more of a time freedom. My husband and I took on second jobs. We had 2 keiki, and it's hard, friends and family, especially those who live up here in Amalika, who live up in the States, they would call us and, their idea of Hawaii living, they think we're sipping on pina coladas on the beach all day, when in actuality, you're hustling, you're paying for paradise, right? And it's really, really difficult. And it took a strain on my marriage. I felt at one point that I was losing myself, not only as a wife or a mother, but also as just a wahine, as a mama, as a kanaka, that I lost myself at one point, and I couldn't really be the best version of myself if I was constantly strained by so many other things than what I aspire to be. And ultimately, I tell people, Las Vegas, anywhere that would provide that time freedom, that financial freedom for you, like, life is too short to not take advantage of that. It's unfortunate that I did have to, displace my whole ohana away from where our heart is currently, but I always tell my kids, Hawaii is always our home. We know it's there. We will return to her someday. But just right now, this is where our feet has taken us. So yeah, the journey here has not been easy. My two older keiki went through the Kaiapuni Hawaiian immersion system. So having known that, we've battled years. We're still battling years. So I have my oldest will enter high school. My second oldest, Kamalani, will enter middle school. Last school year, imagine being an 8th grader, and that's your first year of English school ever in your life, away from anything culturally adept to, familiarity of what you know. So schools up here in Vegas are built like prisons. They pretty much mimic the style of a prison, and that's documented in architecture. They like the structure of these cement buildings. There's no windows, you don't see the daylight in your classrooms. So for my keiki who had outdoor classrooms, they didn't wear slippers in their classrooms. They were outside for half of the day. They spent, classroom time out on the grass, and then being pretty much imprisoned in this cement block, 4 walls, confined, doesn't see the sunlight till maybe you walk out for lunch. So for them, psychologically, on top of education, it's been very, very difficult. Not to mention just the curriculum, the way of thinking is also very different. And I'll give you guys a quick example. So when Kamaehu first moved to Las Vegas, he had to take an aptitude test. And the teacher went through a series of questions, science questions, and they asked him, they said, is a rock a living or a non-living item, right? And off the back, he was 5th grade, 4th going into 5th grade when we first moved here. And he said, living, that rock is living. And he was so certain of his answers. I was in the corner of the room, and he looked up and gave the teacher a look and said, living, got that, next question. And she just wrote, took notes and was like, And in my mind, my husband and I, my heart was completely torn, because now we had to teach him, not per se, like, we're still battling this where it's heart versus mind, right? What you're learning in school versus what you've been taught your whole life. Our aina, or rock, is we know it as a living, breathing, source, where you put a seed into our aina, you water it, you nurture it, it grows, we eat from it, it's the circle of life. And for my son to be told that the rock, our aina, our living land, is not living, I mean, it blew his mind. It took months and months and months to, and as a mother, of what I've wanted for him to understand in his heart, that was so difficult. It's still difficult for him to grasp that. And we went back, and he goes, Mom, I've been lying this whole time in my life. I said, no, you're not lying. Like, you haven't been lied to. It's a different perspective, right? So people just need to be educated on where we come from, what we've been taught. But yeah, this is pretty much our life. My keiki still olelo, and now we're trying to create programs and still adapt to living here in Las Vegas, while carrying our culture from home. So here in our home, we olelo, we eat the things that we eat at home. It's a little more expensive, but we do try and eat fresh fish and kalo, and we olelo Hawaii as best as possible. We sing, we sing mele, and that's, I think that's the biggest thing that I stress when meeting kanaka up here who feel that they were forced out of Hawaii and are extremely homesick. I'm so fortunate to go home pretty often and kind of refuel myself and refill our cup. But I will say that is probably like you have to continue to do the things that fill your na'au, right? Otherwise, it takes, I'm not gonna lie, it takes a lot more effort. You can't just walk to the grocery store, you can't just walk to Food Land and pick up your pound poke and go to the beach and with your ukulele. You really have to create your hui of people, support the local eateries out here, make your own food. It's a little more difficult for sure, but that's my biggest, when people tell me, how are you surviving out here? We didn't change. We didn't change who we are. And our feet definitely took us to a different aina. We're learning to appreciate this aina for the beauty it brings, but also continuing to hold on to what Hawaii has gifted us as well.
My ka'i, wow. That is very interesting. Everything that you just shared was very interesting. But yeah, in Las Vegas, it's a desert. So it's a total different lifestyle in how to live there compared to in Hawaii. Yeah, we're outdoors all the time. We're using our slippers, the kids are learning about the aina and so on. So it's so unfortunate to hear that experience that your child, your keiki, had to go through. But really it's us trying to let him know that no, he's not wrong. He's not wrong, especially when it comes to our belief in our culture, when it comes to the pohaku, to the rock, I'm so sorry that he had to go through that. But yeah, together we just got to find that community. We got to get that Hawaiian community to back us all up. And I hear that, since we're talking about culture, I hear that you're doing a bunch of things to help perpetuate our Hawaiian culture. So can you share a little bit about that?
So alongside with some amazing organizations that have been supporting endeavors, particularly within the Pacific Islander Hawaiian community, I want to give a shout out to Island Envy. They are an amazing organization. They put on various programs, ohana outings for our la hui. If you are not connected with Island Envy, I just support them. I am an ohana who partakes in their programs. And I was also so fortunate to be one of their instructors at their inaugural Inspire event a few weeks ago, actually in June, at the ending of June. And what that program was, it was a 3-day Hawaiian cultural enrichment program where they were able to welcome 125 keiki from middle school to high school at no cost for 3 days, in completely immersed in Olelo Hawaii, Mo'omehiu, Hawaiian history, Hanalima crafts, lei, ukulele, as well as hula, from instructors who live here, who have now relocated from Hawaii and now live here in Vegas. And I am actually they have inspired me to holomua, and with their kako'o, with their support, I have decided to launch this Hawaiian series of my own. And so we're looking to kick off on Monday, the 25th at Enterprise Library. We will be hosting a model workshop that's actually by invite only. So if anybody are interested, definitely Anake Kawahine will have my information. And I am on social media as well, Cece Cullen. But we have a model workshop that is being hosted, and that is in observance of La Ho'iho'i'ea, our Hawaiian Restoration Day at the ending of this month. And we will also have a interest meeting to our Ma Lama Lama series. So our Hawaiian culture series that will be taking place twice every month. We are starting off at Enterprise Library here in the Clark County library systems. We are looking to expand elsewhere. So if you are interested, please reach out. We want to find other locations where Hawaiians would like to gather and we can coordinate there. But this Hawaiian series is going to be a vast of arts and crafts and just all kind of knowledge from instructors who live here. So that is my main goal from having hopefully Anake Kawahine soon. We want everyone who is willing to share and create this gathering place where in Hawaii, it's really simple to just say, hey, we're gonna meet at the beach. You know, here it takes a little more effort because we're battling with the extreme weathers, right? We can't necessarily meet outdoors all the time. We have pockets of seasons where it's really, really nice. But I also want to be, you know, we want to make sure our kupuna are taken care of, our pepe are taken care of. So right now in AC is where we have to be. So that is something really exciting and has been on my heart for a really long time. So I mahalo organizations like Island Envy who have set the pathway for kanaka like us who really have a burning desire to give back to the lahui in any way, right? So I'm creating this program as more so the coordinator. So I am putting out that kahea to anyone who would like to teach, who even just storytelling. I tell people all the time, I tell my keiki themselves that, you know, whenever we're home in Hawaii, sit with your kupuna, listen to the stories, write down their recipes. These are so important to really just be in the moment, right? Because once these stories are lost, they're lost forever, you know, and it's our kuleana to perpetuate our culture in any way. You know, a lot of people are like, everyone back home, they can take care of that. It's no, everyone has a part in this, all the way down to our babies, you know. So we want to include the entire ohana in this Ma Lama Lama series, and we hope everyone can come out.
Oh, my ka'i, yes, I would love to come and join and see
Yes.
everything that you guys are helping to perpetuate. It's really important, especially with our keiki. Yeah, we got to teach them, yeah, how to learn about our culture. We need to perpetuate with them and sharing that mana'o with others, especially, you know, practitioners that is maybe in the area that can teach and can share. That is so my ka'i. And, you know, it's awesome that we have the internet too. So sometimes when it comes to hearing some of those legends or those mo'olelos, we can still gather them and get that from back home. Yeah. But, you know, it's important when it comes to our keikis here, sharing with them, because a lot of them are born here, you know. Now it's a new generation, they're born here and they haven't gone home and they didn't have that experience that we had, you know. So if we can create those spaces for them to help them understand who they actually are, my ka'i, because, you know, you got to know your roots, right? And able to move forward, you got to know where you came from and what happened during those times. So my ka'i, I commend you guys. And yeah, holomua, yes, because I know that kind of service is really needed. And the word needs to get out. I know in Las Vegas, there's a huge community that want to perpetuate, but they're not sure where to go. So they need direction. So us getting that word out is my ka'i.
And I was clearly, and I'm still one of those. I'm making the connections, like with you, Anake, with other organizations that are already doing this. You know, so that's the beauty in it. There are people like yourself, other practitioners, other kumuhula, other, you know, even just people just talking story. I meet other kanaka at parks with my ohana, and we just talk story, and And sometimes just that fills your na'au, right? And so there's so many people who move here. There are other organizations that support, like the Hawaiian Civic Club, like the Ninth Island Cultural Club. These organizations are setting the pathway, and we just all have to get together, right?
Yeah.
And create that pilina so everyone can feel, that aloha. Especially I'm speaking for those who have recently located, for those who particularly felt pushed out. I moved here without any of that hoo-hoo, without that resentment. And I know I have friends and family who do. They feel like they still have that resentment, right? Like, Hawaii kicked me out, and so it's difficult. It's difficult to create some kind of, that connection to home when you're still carrying that with you. It's heavy. But no, I mahalo what you just said about these keiki who this generation. So I have cousins already, so my age, in their 30s, who are born and raised in Las Vegas. So at this 3-day Inspire event, I mentioned to you, Auntie, at one time when we was bala'o, but Kumu Hula, or Kumu Loke Mokiao, she was the hula instructor along with her Alaka'i son, Royson. I'm gonna give a shout out to them. But I was so, this is still carrying on into the hearts of those. So she taught the mele kaleo kamanu to these keiki, and as we know, there's lines that kahea out to the different moku, like Nanakuli and Papakolea. And she made a rendition of and added O Nanakuli Ea, Kalamai, O Nevada Ea, Kalamai, O Nevada Ea. And it was in honor of these keiki who will grow up here, who are born and raised here in Nevada. And let me tell you, my social media after this class, these keiki are like finding me on social media now, and they're so proud for the first time in their life as a kanaka. Some of them have never even, they came up to me and are like, Auntie, what is Hawaii like? And you're talking about 6th, 7th graders, right? So that's 10, 11, 12 even years old, have never had the opportunity to step foot on our aina, have beautiful, beautiful long Hawaiian names, but haven't had the opportunity quite yet to return home to their homelands, right? Even though they were physically born here. So that I can't mahalo Kumuloke enough, because she's empowered these keiki to have that connection that was like, wow, I really am kanaka. Like, I'm part of this, like mo'oku auhau. Like, I have this connection back to Hawaii, really for the first time. A lot of them, and it's not like a disrespect to their ohana, like, oh my gosh, you didn't teach them or whatever. Because likewise, in my house, I'm continuously learning, and teaching my keiki. There's stories that my keiki are like, hey, I've never heard that. When was this? And I said, oh, did I not tell you the story? Okay, come, let me tell you the story. So it's in these moments where these keiki are very, very eager to learn, that I am just going to capitalize on all of this feelings that these keiki are now yearning to want to know and get all this information. And I want to make sure that this information that they're gathering, is fueling them, is polole, is correct, and from experts that we have here in Vegas. So a lot of people don't realize there's so many people who are already doing these things to perpetuate our language, our culture, our arts out here. So I'm really excited, and I wanted to just put that out about Kumuloke, because she really did change, or pretty much just really connect these keiki just by creating a rendition where these keiki would feel like, because that one mele talks about the different moku. You're talking about the Waianae coast, you're talking about the Kona coast, you have Ko'olau Poko, Ko'olau Loa, specifically on the island of Oahu. And she added that, and my heart burst, because I am Kanaka Maoli, I am a Kamehameha graduate, I'm very proud, but I only have one keiki who is Hawaii born. my other three are Vegas born. One when I was in college, and two when we returned back here. So I don't I don't segregate them in that way. I don't discriminate them. I teach them the same. They have the same koko, they have the same blood. But yes, where they were physically born was not, the three was not in Hawaii. So for them, I don't teach them any different. And I feel the same for the keiki who were born here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you actually live, you are still kanaka. Yeah, so we need to support that. Maika, yeah, I was just wondering, because it seems like you're trying to just network out to people, yeah, and especially our kanaka. When it comes to this pandemic, is there challenges on getting things out there and connecting, actually physically connecting? I know we are people that likes to be with each other, we are emotional
Absolutely.
people that got to hug and honey and everything, and we got to be around each other. So
You're
this
so
wahi
right,
is
Anake.
so way.
That was something that my mom, when she first moved up to Vegas, and here in Vegas, we really only shut down 2 months. Like the actual shutdown was 2 months. We had masks up until, but even in the casinos, I mean, after the shutdown, the casinos were packed. They were packed. We still wore masks and took our precautions, but like you mentioned earlier, Anake, with the use of technology, Zoom, my keiki call it Zoomalani, is our other Ohana member,
I
because
love that.
yeah, Zoom has become a platform that's become really essential. And so, like you mentioned earlier, even in the comforts of our home, we have Kumu Kahanuʻu, who started E Ho'opili Mai during the pandemic. So many people, because of the time and allowance, and then the platform of Zoom, allowed people to share freely from the comforts of their home, safely. And with that, I also plan to connect with other kumu back in Hawaii who are willing to share. But my series is to actually connect with people living here, because I want other Kanaka to know that it's possible. There are Kanaka living here, right? We will have guest speakers coming from Hawaii when they travel. But in terms of, I think the pandemic, yes, it has made it difficult to have the face-to-face interactions. We are still living through the pandemic, so we have to be cautious, of course. But yes, like you said, like Hawaiians, oh my goodness, you go to one Hawaiian event, it's like honey, 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 puliki, puliki, everybody, and then you go back to your ka'a and you're like, oh, I gotta sanitize, and but
Yep.
it's so difficult, especially for my kiki. They're like, even giving knuckles, or on my third child, he's all about throwing shaka, so everybody is like, ho, 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 everybody, and
Cool.
so yes, but yes, in our culture, it was very difficult because we are very touchy feely. We have to be in our each other's, aloha, within our breathing space. And so that, I'd say, is probably one of the most difficult, to not be um, and we have to be cautious of those who are higher at risk, like our babies and our kupuna. But I'd say with the technology platforms, everyone can be included, right? So anytime I teach, I will also try my best. There's nothing like being in the room, though, but we will try our best to live stream. We haven't really decided what classes and how we're doing that quite yet, because we want people to be present as much as possible, but we understand that there are limitations for others, so we are still working on those fine details in terms of our Ma Lama Lama series. But yes, I have been networking, I go to events, I do other things as well. Then the community, I do natural la'au lapa'au. So yes, this is a kahea to the entire Vegas Lahui, instructors, kumu, anyone willing to just connect. There are so many avenues, and I have to just mahalo people who have been the foundation here in Vegas, who have done the groundwork. You know, I have so many people to thank, who are continuing, who have done this for 20 plus years. I have friends that I look up to in the community. There's so many local restaurants, but it wasn't until I was a mama in Punana Leo that I really, really indulged in our Olelo Hawaii. You know, I learned the structures, the sentence structures, the vocab, the pronunciation, and so forth. But really speaking, having conversations in everyday life, I'm still learning. You know, every day is a learning experience for all of us, but I did not really learn how to converse fluently until my keiki went to Punana Leo. And I will tell you, like, I owe so much to the Kaiapuni system, the Punana Leo system, for really just immersing my ohana and welcoming us into that world. And we fell into it really, really deep. And I mahalo them. I stay connected. Anytime I am home, we still connect with all my Keiki's friends, even the kumu to this day. All the kumu we're still close friends with. Anytime I have questions, all of them are just willing and open to teach, and it's just an amazing community to be a part of for life. And so that world of Kaiapuni and Hawaiian immersion and everything that these instructors and the entire hui of those who are perpetuating our language and our culture actively every day in their work or lifestyles in Hawaii and what they do for our greater community. It's really, really, really commendable when you dig deep, because like we've mentioned, it's a labor of the heart, right? You have to, it's something, that burning desire to want to share, want to perpetuate. And I'll tell my kids here, it's our kuleana, you know, it's our kuleana to keep these traditions alive and to teach them in the best way possible. Here, we battle with the authenticity, right? People are like, how authentic is that? You know, is that hula? Is that mele that you're teaching with limited resources? You know, and I said, we try our best. I have a kumu who wanted to teach a kapala workshop, you know, and when we teach kapala, it's normally from ohe, you learn about what you're going to stamp and the images and how to do them, what kind of materials to do them from, when you do them, you know. So we are trying to be as authentic as we can here with the limited resources that we do have, and just trying to hold them more, you know. And I tell people all the time, abroad or not, it is, especially if you are, you know, kanaka maoli, kanaka oiwi, if you have the koko and you were, and I want to just add a little tidbit. You know, a lot of people ask me, do you consider Hawaiians who don't have blood Hawaiians? And I will say no, but you know, kama'aina alike, kama'aina, if you have called Hawaii your home for X amount of years, you have a kuleana too, because now you know, now you've been taught, now you are a protector of the land, the traditions. So it's, to me, the quote unquote Hawaiian, you know, it's not like Californian, right? It's an actual ethnicity. So a lot of people ask me where I stand on that, and I don't consider, you know, you're not Hawaiian, because like for me, a lot of people ask me, you speak Spanish, you know, you live so close to Mexico, you consider yourself Mexican? I'm like, no, you know, I would never rob a native Mexican of their culture and try to adopt it as my own, but I respect it, I honor it, I will give it the full, you know, the full glory it deserves in their own right. But I tell people all the time, I have friends and family that I've grown up with. My dad is not even Hawaiian. My mom is the Hawaiian, and my dad is one of the most Kanaka I know. You know, but is he Hawaiian? You know, in his heart, he always said, "In my heart, I'm Hawaiian, babe. Don't worry about me, okay?" And I said, "Yes, Dad." You know, but So I tell people not to, create some kind of division. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I just want people to understand that Hawaiian is an ethnicity. It's a race. It is not a nationality. It is not, I lied because we're a nation, but I'm saying like in this, under America but I tell people all the time, like you call Hawaii your home, you may not have the blood, but you have a kuleana now. I have friends and family, like I said, that will, know more about the Hawaiian culture, perpetuate their, kama'aina, they call Hawaii their home. They're the ones picking up the opala on the beach. You don't have to carry the Hawaiian blood to know the traditions, to practice these traditions. Everyone has a part, so don't feel discouraged. Don't, when people talk about these things, because kama'aina, kanaka maoli, we all carry the same. And it's especially if that's where I say, if you have been taught, if you are open to learning the traditions and our culture, and in turn respect it, you then carry the kuleana as well. So I know people have their own opinions as well, but that's how I feel. I feel that everyone can learn, and everyone, likewise, if we went to another country, we move our feet, we may not be of that blood, and you go there, you need to respect their lifestyle, their culture, and in turn, you share what you learned with somebody else. And now you're honoring that other culture. You don't need to adopt it as your own and call it your own. But there is a respect level that needs to be given to it, especially if you're living on that aina. It's very different, so I just wanted to add that, because some people get very weary of how I say it and present it, but I mean it in the best way. Everyone carries a kuleana.
I polole, yeah. You make a really good point when it comes to the the people, the residents of Hawaii, whether you have the koko or you don't have the koko, there's a kuleana there. And I remember growing up way back when Israel Kamakawiwa Ole was sharing, was singing, and he was talking about the Hawaiians, our kanaka, and the Hawaiians at heart, and that's the ones that was raised in Hawaii, the ones that embrace our lifestyle, the ones that embrace our culture, they have a voice too. Right. And that's why this new season, because we're in season 2 for this podcast, and that's why mahalo, that's why I decided to include them, because season 1 was just the kanaka, just the Hawaiians that was relocated, that left Hawaii. Yeah. But we have those people that grew up in Hawaii, that embraced everything, and they went through the same thing. Eventually, they probably had different reasons why they had to leave. So they have a voice too. So I wanted to hear their voices. So that's why I included them also, And yeah, we have Hawaiians with the koko and Hawaiians with, Hawaiian blood. I mean, Hawaiian at heart. I mean, I have many family members, especially my grandfather. He was pure Spanish. But
wow, see, and that's what I mean.
The way he talked was like a kanaka, and I swear he was one of the guys that he was just like your dad. No worry, baby, I Hawaiian in my heart, Yeah. So exactly.
Yep, that's my dad all the time.
Yeah.
My kids still to this day, Papa, you're not Hawaiian, and he goes, "Adamos Hawaiian kanaka,"
right?
And I just crack up, because my dad is half Filipino, half Japanese. My grandparents met World War II, and so it's interesting. It's just, yes, and I tell people all the time, you have a kuleana as well. A lot of my friends, I have friends, pure Kepani, pure Kepani. Their olelo is so beautiful. I cannot, I learn from them. I have so many friends and family. Yeah. So, that question comes up to me a lot, and I feel like the people who do ask me are trying to create a division. And for me, that's not my intention. My intention is to educate of, our ethnicity as Kanaka Maoli with Oiwi, like actual, bloodline. and that's very different, but not to create a division. Like I said, sometimes the most proud and the most, those practitioners, the ones who are perpetuating the culture the most, are those Hawaiians at heart.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to redirect a little bit because we've been talking a lot about, the mainland and things that's been happening. I was wondering, what about some fond memories that you would like to share with us about Hawaii? Growing up in Hawaii, I'm sure you got a bunch of them. So, how about sharing some?
I have a lot. I mean, yeah, that's kind of a loaded question, but growing up in Hawaii, I mean, it's the best place in the world, right? For those of us who are so fortunate to grow up on the sands of our islands and our homelands, and oh, I get choked up because so my two older keiki, they were so fortunate to grow up on the islands, but now I have two younger keiki who right now, I have two. My middle children are on Oahu. They spend summers on Oahu with my in-laws, and my dad lives up there, over there. And they live about 100 feet apart on an old country road, and they can run in between grandparents' houses, grow up chasing chickens, playing in the ponds, catching crawfish. My 3-year-old was running around in his rubber boots. You guys know those locals rubber boots, and he's in the river, then cleaning the lo'i with his papa. And so that is country living for me. My husband and I we grew up about, I'd say not even a mile apart, but didn't know each other until after we became adults. We had a lot of family friends. We've probably crossed paths a few times while we were growing up, but I never knew Nicole until I was about 18. And we've met through mutual friends, actually through my brother. And a lot of what we do and how we live up here is rooted in our childhood, right? Doing the things that we do, we still support Nicole's friend, real childhood friend who owns a lo'i now, a thriving lo'i, makes poi every Thursday out of his lo'i in Kahalu'u. And so my kids are so fortunate to still have that during the summers. So that was kind of a bargain when we moved up. We told them, you do your kuleana up here, you do good in school, you make sure, you earn to go back in the summers. And they spend their entire summers. So they'll actually come back next week. But I have a lot of memories. I spent a lot of time at the beach. I've actually, now that my mom's here in Vegas, one of my brothers lives here with me as well. I'm trying to get everybody up with me. My dad and my youngest brother still live in Kahalu'u, next to my in-laws. So my husband's parents they live, I always say 100 feet, but it's more like 30 feet. It's really, really close. And so growing up on the beaches, I mean, with that whole financial strain that we talked about in the beginning, beach is free. You know what I mean? And I always wondered why. I'm one of 4 children as well. I'm the only girl. I'm the oldest. I have 3 younger brothers. And I always wondered why as a Kiki, the beach is the best. Like that's our water park, that's our playground, that's where you build these memories with your cousins, your neighbors, your friends, your beach friends. And you wonder like, oh, all my memories are at the beach, and my mom was like, yeah, because the beach was free. You know what I mean? Like that's where we were
Right?
at. And we're so fortunate that you can go to the beach 24, all year round in Hawaii. You know what I mean? So all my pictures growing up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I live in a bathing suit. I was always in a bikini. And my mom's like, yeah, raising 4 kids. I mean, that's where you're gonna spend your day. You pack up your cooler, pack up your musubi, and that's where you'll spend your time, And it was, yes, creating memories, but my mom, now that I'm a mom and we're sharing motherhood together here, she'll share with me, and she said, yeah, because it was free. Like, you know what I mean? We were already strained for money. We were trying to live paycheck to paycheck, but the beach was there. The beach was free. You guys loved the beach. It was kind of like a no-brainer, And So those are the memories I have of just growing up. I grew up all over. My dad, like I said, so cuisine wise, my mom and my dad, I got like Filipino, Japanese, Hawaiian food. Everything we do as Kanaka revolves around food. Especially when we go home from Vegas, we already have our list of places to eat. So when people are like, "Hey, where are you gonna be?" It's based on where you're eating that day, right? So, oh, I can be over here. Meet me over here. It's like I'm gonna be over here. I gotta get my fix. So, food was a big part of my family. I come from a catering family. My parents owned a shave ice catering company, so we did a lot of big events. When I was growing up, that's when Jeremy Harris and Mufi Hanneman were around, and we did a lot of their private events. And so I grew up dancing hula. My brother grew up playing ukulele. He sang in the Honolulu Boy Choir. So we were always this dynamic duo, dancing hula on catamarans and doing catering events, did a lot of political events, private events. So I grew up in that lifestyle, ended up going to explorations at Kamehameha in 5th grade. We were living in Kahaluʻu. I told my mom, I am going to this school. I am going to this school. Get me into this school. Do whatever I need to do to get into the school. My mom actually uprooted us, moved us to Kalihi for a greater geographic exception. I got into Kamehameha. We stayed there for my 7th grade year. And then in 8th grade, we moved back to Kahaluʻu. So my brothers will tell that story all the time, that they had to move and make new friends just so I could get into Kamehameha. And I mahalo them and I love them up, but yeah, they get really irritated with me and tell that story. They're like, I can't believe we had to move just so you could get into your school. And I'm like, I love you guys all, like, for doing all of that, and 2 of them were
Uh-huh.
babies. They were like literally like infants, and they still talk about that story. But yes, I went to Kamehameha and was so fortunate. So a lot of my friends, my close, my sisters. I don't have sisters by blood, but these are my sisters who I was raised with, and they all come from Kamehameha. Kamehameha has opened the doors for me with so many opportunities, and I just mahalo for the relationships that I still carry today because of those legacies that were created back when I was up on the hill. So my kids still partake in the summer programs. My daughter just went to Ho'oma'aka'ikai explorations this year, and I'm mahalo Kamehameha for doing everything that they could to put it on this year, despite the pandemic and the restrictions. It was a little difficult. Last year was via Zoom, which was really, really our distance learning is how they did explorations, and you can't really experience the lo'i through Zoom.
Wow.
It's really difficult. Yeah. So last year, the 2020 year didn't have anything. Obviously, with the shutdown, 2021, Kamehameha did their part to at least reach out and create a distance learning program for the summer programs. And this year was very limited. It was a day drop off. So the keiki, those of you who know explorations, the keiki were not allowed to sleep over. It was a day-to-day drop off. And then hopefully next year it could be restored to its full glory. But yes, I mahalo these traditions that are still around from when I got to experience them, that are still around for my keiki to be a part of as well.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Wow, I did not know that about exploration. My son did go to exploration. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. So yeah,
Yes.
being able to continue that with the next generation is awesome. It's so sad to hear that they had to do it over on online, but at least there was something. At
Yeah,
least
that
there was
that was
something.
yeah, it was. It's so
I
difficult though.
know.
I was like, oh man, and my daughter got to go day drop off, but I'm like, oh man, I was so bummed for her because that experience of sleeping
Yeah.
over,
Yeah.
and for most keiki, it's probably the first time that they've ever been away from
Yep.
home that
Yep.
long, for a full week.
Yeah.
So I was really excited for her, but she got to see all her friends, and we got to go to her ho'olaule'a, and it was still beautiful up on campus. Kamehameha does an amazing job. And I mahalo them for even, because came down to the last minute. And, for those of us up here who have to book
Yep.
flights and coordinate to get our keiki down, it takes a little more effort. And so I it was like, oh my gosh, are we going? Are we not going?
Yeah.
And last minute, we're like, we're just going. We're gonna go, and we plan to go every summer to Oahu anyways. But
My cutie.
yes, my
Yeah,
cutie.
I know when my son went, he was scared to go in the beginning, but at the end, when he came home, he was so melancholy. He didn't want to leave. He enjoyed himself so much. And my son is Mr.
Right.
Aloha, I swear, So yeah, it was a great experience. Well, we're coming up on the hour. Wow, that went by so fast,
Yeah.
yeah. So fast.
Yes.
So before we close, I was
Wow.
wondering, do you have any message or advice that you would like to share with our audience, especially the Kanaka, that maybe they're thinking of relocating, or maybe they did relocate already, So if you have any advice based off of what you've been through already in the years that you've been away from Hawaii.
Yeah, and I've touched on this briefly, but for those of you in the islands on our Aina Hanau who are thinking of relocating specifically to Las Vegas, I will say Hawaii is always our home. And you have to remember that in order to really just make the move, and in the most pono way for you and your ohana, right? A lot of people will say that the financial strain will push you out, but there is so many opportunities here. My keiki are finally in their 5th year here, appreciating Vegas and just the opportunities that can come from living up here in Amelika right now. So I say find it in your heart of how to carry what you have in Hawaii, and make the move for the best decision for you, right? Don't come with any kind of pilikia inside your heart. That will make it very difficult. I've had moments, don't get me wrong, but yes, find carry your aloha with you is what I tell people. Like, bring that aloha with you, right? That lives in our heart. No matter where our feet takes us, that will always live in our heart. And then to our Kanaka who have made the move here. And I mentioned this, and it's really connecting, right? I know people who go back and forth, back and forth. They come here, they go home, they come here, they go home. And really it is making that connection and building your hui of support, right? Like, even if it's just going to supporting the local eateries, right? Us as Kanaka, food is our love language, right? Like, we love our food, our local grinds. And if part of that is missing, local music, there's Little Grass Shack every Sunday. Tune in. I have an alarm. All our Alexas turn on to Little Grass Shack. I listen to, our Miss Aloha on Doreen, Francis, Puna Boy, and I just crack up. I get fueled by them, like listening to Hawaiian music coming through your radio, not turning on your Pandora, but really connecting. And there's a lot of programs out here that are advocating, that are perpetuating, that have programs that really are connecting our Hawaiians up here. So it's really creating that hui. And I tell people all the time, when I first moved here in 2006, I couldn't even find shoyu in the grocery stores. I had to tell my mom to send up aloha shoyu. There wasn't medium grain rice. There was long grain rice, and I'm like, no, this is not my rice. I cannot make musubi with this kind of rice. Like, and that was back in 2004, 2006 when I initially moved here. Then I moved back in 2017, and I'm walking in the local grocery store and there's a whole aisle, so people are definitely conforming to the Hawaiians, to the Pacific Islanders out here. We just got to get out there and really connect with ourselves, even if it's through social media, through Zoom. Just stay connected. A little more difficult than back at home, but there's definitely a way. And I hope to see you guys at our Malama Lama series. It is open to anyone willing to connect and grow in our Hawaiian culture together.
My kai. Yeah, that was a great point. Thank you so much for sharing. And I truly enjoyed this whole session with you, Cece. Thank you so much for everything that you do, especially the networking and getting that word out to our people and just trying to get everybody to connect, So I mahalo you. And To me, you're a great representative out there in this big honua sharing and representing Hawaii. So continue doing what you're doing. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo for you, Anake
Yeah, and I would love, you know what, this session went by so fast, and I know there's so much more that we can share. So I would love to invite you back maybe one day, and you can give us an update on how everything is going.
I would love that. I hope it all works out because I'm a little nervous.
Well, I give my best to your ohana. Thank you so much again for sharing your time with us, bearing with me for over an hour, and just sharing your story. So mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo.
All right, gang, I know that was a long session, but for those of you that hung in there and bared with us talking story, I'm sure you gained a lot of value to the information that Cece shared. I know I enjoyed it because, I always say that, learning about other people, the more that we know, the more we grow. And then we'll be able to understand situations that they go through, and so do we. And we can even see similarities on how we actually are alike. I, for one, are very impressed of the things that Cece is trying to do with our lahui as she live abroad. And I know our conversation, there was a lot of plugging on events that is happening in Las Vegas. So I'm going to leave the information in the show notes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my very best to get back to you. And you can connect with me by leaving a comment in this show, or you can go to our social media, which I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they're all under Hawaii Abroad. So anyway, gang, as always, before you leave, please make sure that you are clicking that subscribe button so you can get notifications whenever our episodes come out. And of course, if you can rate this podcast, I would really appreciate it. And please share this podcast. Okay, everyone, this is Auntie Max signing out for now. Aloha.